Where's my webcam? Please work. Deactivate, activate. There we go. Hello, everyone. Everyone's having a good day. Today, I've been mostly focused on coding. I was coding a flow field, so pathfinding like algorithm for the units of the game. But today, we're gonna do some coding again. But also, I want to start working on creating a concept for the game, creating a theme, a setting, a story, and then tie them into the mechanics of the game. So I started yesterday collecting some reference images on ArtStation. Let me just pull it up, actually. I don't know why it keeps signing me out. Every single time I have to sign back in. Collections. Here we go. Okay. So I got a bunch of images. It's mostly like monsters and stuff. I don't want it to just be monsters. I want there to be humans. But the general theme I was thinking of is, you might have seen it, but something like The Witcher 3, where monsters exist, but they're not these like fantastic or cartoony monsters. They're more realistic, they're more grim and dark. But don't get confused. I don't think the game itself will be very dark and grim and gory. It'll be more on the cartoony side, but the character inspirations themselves, I want them to be darker. So imagine Warcraft Rumble. So imagine like ogres and trolls and stuff, right? They're not necessarily like cute or they look intimidating, they look dangerous, they're ugly. But in this game, they're depicted as a more cartoony, with a more cartoonish art style. Like, look at this character. That's what I'm thinking. There's two reasons for that. I would love to have like a high definition, very detailed game, but it's really hard to get it right. It's really expensive to do it. So I'm thinking of creating simple characters, 3D. Simple but solid, let's say. Okay. And let me pull up my Obsidian. There we go. Inspiration. Okay, so I made a note specifically for my inspiration. So I'm taking from The Witcher, Game of Thrones, Mountain Blade, For Honor, in terms of the theme. So obviously, like The Witcher monsters, The Witcher mythology, like the Slavic mythology. Game of Thrones in terms, like Game of Thrones also has some overlaps with The Witcher, I would say. Dragons, monsters, drowned people. And the general tone, like the politics, I think maybe like they're not too similar, I'd say, but in terms of the atmosphere, they're very close to each other. Mountain Blade, going around conquering, fighting other kingdoms and stuff. In For Honor, the same way, but in For Honor, it's more like sieges. You're sieging a castle. You're capturing points basically, and then there's your army, there's their army, and they're like fighting, and you can go and help your army, and then you can push the other army back, and there's this line that keeps oscillating. That, and I added that as a theme because it fits. It just feels like war, like a battle, like a skirmish. It just gives that feeling, like For Honor in general. Mechanics I take from Clash Royale, Warcraft Rumble, Teamfight Tactics, Gigantic. If you don't know Gigantic, it's basically a MOBA, but instead of like static structures like in League of Legends, each team has a nexus and the other team has to destroy it. The nexuses in Gigantic are these huge creatures, and the creatures march forward with you and they attack the other creature's base basically. So I'm taking from Gigantic in terms of that, because in my game there's 2 sentinels, which are basically your towers, and they keep walking forward. They meet in the middle and they start attacking each other. Hades and Hades 2. In terms of gameplay, the only thing I thought might be cool, might add some depth to the game, is just having character art that occasionally shows up. But besides that, I don't think Hades' gameplay or mechanics have much in common with my game. Maybe like roguelite mechanics. But besides that, no. Subway is an indie game. It's basically you're building a space colony. You're building an empire in space, and you're managing all of these different planets and stuff. I'm taking the mechanic from there because I'm thinking of having an overworld in my game. An overworld where you can see which places you've conquered, your own territory, other people's territory, and you can just like manage what's going on in the world. And then the characters, this is like a fun part. So these are just ideas. I picked things that would... Well, first of all, I did not include any flying things. I'm thinking of not having any flying things in my game. That both simplifies the pathfinding stuff, and second, my first reason to not have flying enemies is I want this game to be more about combat. So let me check if my audio is working. Hello? Okay, it's working. I want the game to be more based on combat rather than like more combat between units rather than combat to go capture a tower like in League of Legends or like in Clash Royale. I want it to be more like teamfight tactics in terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay, where the units are just attacking each other. And the advantage, the reason air units even exist is most of the ground units cannot attack air units. And my reasoning is that reduces the amount of combat happening in the game. That's why I'm removing the air units completely. So in this game, there won't be any air units at all. That doesn't mean like later on if I make a second game, or if I make a game in the same universe, of course there's going to be like flying things in the world. It's not like they don't exist. But for this game scope, I opted to not have any flying units. Just a basic like human human classes: sword, spear, archery, mages, monster hunters, witchers, basically, shamans. So like mages, but not focused on combat. Let's put this like right next to it. Animals. I picked 2 animals that I want to have featured. The rest are maybe. The 2 animals are goats and bears. Chickens. They're too funny to have in a game. I might add them if I want it to be funny, but I'm going to decide that after I decide on a setting and a theme and everything. But of course, like I have something already, but I want to put it on paper what the setting is. Bears and goats, I want to have those. Cats, wolves, and chickens, I may or may not have something like that. I just feel like wolves or dogs, any kind of dog in video games, they're not like too intimidating. They don't feel really special, really. Oh, it's just a dog, right? I mean, that's what I feel like, but that's why I may or may not involve a wolf in the game. Cats also same thing, but yeah, I may or may not have any cats. The monsters, again, no flying creatures. So instead of like a dragon or something, I did a worm, which is basically like a snake dragon, a dragon without wings. Fiends from The Witcher. So do I have anything? This guy, something like this. I think that looks pretty unique. Obviously, if I add it to my game, it's not going to be unique, but I can take it as inspiration. Giants, cyclopses, and then these 3. They're actually from Turkish mythology. A dragon, which I would have to change. I don't want any flying stuff. A creature that like hides in the dark and grabs you if you get close. And Leshy, you might know Leshy. It's just like the forest spirit, the forest guardian, and ghouls. You also know ghouls. And then I can, I have some things here, but like the idea is I can mix and match these things to create hybrids or unique like designs of the characters. That's the idea. So this is what I have right now. I have like I like the color of this dragon a lot. Obviously it has wings. I would change it a bit, but I like the color. Looks very nice. Anyways, I got like dragons. I have a lot of dragons. Giants, giant wolves, giant worms, giant goat people, bat people, giant bats. This looks creepy. I have a wolf. I have a single wolf. The idea, like, I picked this guy's art as a reference, Tyler Smith. Because if I'm gonna add a wolf into my game, I don't want it to. I don't want to try to make it look intimidating. I want it to be more elegant, I'd say. And this wolf looks very like elegant and royal. That's why I chose this art to represent my thoughts, my vision. A bear, a chicken, just in case. I added this chicken, not because I have a chicken here, but because I like the art. I just really like the art style. I love the colors. I have like the shine on the eye. It's like not super smooth. It has like jagged edges. I just really like the art style here. That's why I added this. It's his profile picture. Leo Solis. Giant cyclops. This is the dragon, the Turkish dragon. 7-headed, huge giant creature. I feel like 7-headed anything in my game would be too hard to implement, but I'll see. Anyways, like the general tone I'm thinking of right now is darker creatures, grim, dark, fantasy creatures, but the art style itself is less dark. That's the idea. I feel like what you see, you can find me on YouTube, on Twitch, Twitter, and you can join my Discord server. I would love to have you in my Discord server, and I'm going to link the server in chat. You want to join? I'm the most active on Discord. If you want to come in and talk to me, I'll be there waiting. You'll get the most frequent updates from me. You'll get updates whenever a video gets released, whenever I start live streaming, or whenever anything important happens within my development. I will notify everyone through my Discord. So I'm going to go back into my Godot. I'm going to do some more coding before we get to the art part. Okay, hold on. I was trying out some stuff in my engine. Let me delete those. Okay. So my requirements changed because now I'm not going to have any air units in the game. That means I don't need to change much. I don't need to change anything actually, because I wasn't accounting for air units in my flow field class anyways. But what I do need to change, so the problem is if I uncomment this, and if I run my scene, I'm debugging the lines of my pathfinding. So like it's trying to go here, but this doesn't look right to me. I would expect some straight lines, but all of these are diagonal. And it just looks weird. And like some of them are missing up here, here, here. So something's wrong. And I'm trying to figure what's wrong. I'm trying to fix it. Where do I start? So I printed out the score layer to look at it visually. And I don't think the score layer is the problem. I think something's wrong here. Or I'm just drawing it wrong. So yeah. And the idea for this one is, so the score layer just holds basically the cost or the score for each tile. And the idea is if a unit is on a tile with, let's say 50 score, and there's a tile next to it with 0 score, the tile with 50 score is going to point at the tile with 0 score, and the unit on there is going to read that and it's going to move towards wherever that tile is pointing at. That's the idea. So what we're trying to do here is, what we're trying to do in this function is we're trying to read the score layer, and we want to go through each tile, and we want to check each tile's neighbors and make that tile point to the cheapest neighbor. That's the idea. And I thought this worked correctly. Apparently not. Something's wrong. Maybe something's wrong here because I really don't see what's wrong. I really don't. Perhaps something's wrong with this function here and I'm not using it correctly. But I'm not sure. Let me move these. Let me close that. Move this over. I want to ask Google for a find the smallest algorithm. I want to compare mine to Google. Okay, undo that. Assume the first element is the smallest. That's what I'm doing right now. Neighbor index with smallest score is 0. Or hold on, what? Neighbor index with score. That's, hold on, that's not, is it? Is that the problem? Is it because I'm setting it to 0? That might be the problem, actually. I can put this here and then do returns an int array. I can do int array neighbors, neighbor indices. I can set this to neighbor indices 0. And I can call it there. Let's try it again. Does it look any different? I don't think it is. Ready. Test unit. Making a test unit. Here. Index 100. Let's make this 0. So we're testing for the pathfinding is trying to go to 0, which is here. I don't understand what. Maybe. Am I passing in like a null so it's always 0? But no, then it doesn't make sense that way. It doesn't make sense because then if it was null, they would all point in the same direction, but they're not all pointing in the same direction. Dimension. I'm really confused. I just don't understand why it's not working. We initialize tiles. Tiles is a new vector2 with the same length as the score layer. Then our dimensions is the same dimensions as the flow field. Now we go through each tile. So for int current tile index. Start from 0. And then current tile index, go until the last tile. Tiles dot length. Current tile index plus plus. Now, for each index, we find its neighbors, and we get the smallest. Okay. Neighbor indices equals flow field dot index to neighbor indices. Our index is the current tile index, and our dimensions is the flow field instance dimensions. Now we need to keep track of smallest score. We need to keep track of the smallest score because we need the neighbor index. So we need to keep track of the neighbor index as well. And this can be max integer. Give me 1 second. Int neighbor smallest score index. Smallest score tile index. There. And we would point to neighbor indices. 0. So the first one. So we're starting from 0. And then we loop through the neighbor indices. Int neighbor index equals 0. Neighbor index smaller than neighbor indices dot length, and then neighbor index plus plus. If what's the function? Neighbor score. Okay. We need to get the score of the neighbor right. If neighbor score, not if, int neighbor score equals to score layer dot tiles neighbor index. If the neighbor score is smaller than the smallest score, which means, okay, we found a smaller score, now replace it. We set the smallest score tile index to the neighbor index. And we set the smallest score, and we update the smallest score to be neighbor score. So far, I mean, I'm just writing the same thing now. Instead of for each, I used for, but besides that, it's literally the same. Small score tile index. And then once we get the smallest score, what am I doing wrong? Am I setting something here wrong? No. um, the direction equals field dot index to coordinate. Maybe I'm getting this wrong. Maybe somehow this is messing up. I don't think so. I remember testing this and it worked. Anyway, current tile index and dimensions, and then we need no, what does this return? I need a vector too. What is this complaining about? Ambiguous reference. Delete this. I hate that it does that. Dot direction 2. This is not a vector 2 yet. Here, direction. What? What's going on? Turns a vector to int. This is okay, let's do it like this. So flow field dot next to coordinate minus that one, and this is going to be the neighbor, the smallest score tile index. Okay, that makes sense. And then dimensions, and then we need to normalize this. What is it? Why is it not working? Vector 2, is there no normalize function? Length squared, distance to clamp. Doesn't want to work. Why does it not like me casting it anyway? Okay, look. This is a vector 2. And I want my vector 2 function. Hello? Vector 2. It's still looking at it as if it's a vector 2 integer. Can I not do that? Okay, then I'll just do this again. Starting position is this. Ambiguous reference. Oh my god. Ambiguous reference. Okay. And the ending location. Hold on, wait a second. 1, 2. Let me try this. End dot direction 2. Maybe I did misunderstood this function. From my vector pointing from this vector to 2. What? So 2 is a position, it's not a direction. Okay. I mean, yeah. That makes sense. I was thinking maybe it was returning a position instead of a direction. Something. Start is the current tile index, not the smallest. And then from start, direction to end. And then our vector 2 tile. Which one? The current tile index equals direction. I literally wrote the same code. Let's try it anyways. It looks correct. What did I change? It looks correct. Let me try it with a different goal. Let's do 10. Or let's do what's the middle of it? Calculator. 14 by 20. It's 140. Let's try 140. What? Didn't change anything. It did not change anything at all. What? Oh. Okay, I know why. Public override. Hold on, give me a second. I need a public override. I can go down here, and before I add it, where I get the flow layer to unit, I can do test unit dot index equals 140. It didn't change anything, so. I mean, if the goal is 0, then it looks correct to me. Like this. Is it? Oh, wait a second. Does changing the size or the scale of a grid change its direction? The direction is relative to 2 tiles. That means the direction shouldn't change at all if I'm scaling it up and down. What? Maybe it's drawing and then it's not refreshing, and that's why it's not working. What if we do what's it called? Redraw? Q redraw? Q redraw, yeah. Q redraw. The starting location, the current tile indexed coordinates. Indexed coordinate. Let's delete this, we don't need it anymore. Current location in terms of the coordinate, not world space. Okay. The ending location in terms of the coordinate, not world space. Am I not setting the instance maybe? Initialize flow field goes here. If instance is null, if the instance isn't null, then return. If the instance is null, then set it to this. Okay. I don't understand why, like, even here, like, it's supposed to, all of these are supposed to be pointing upwards, but then they start like curving a little bit. It's not like they curve 45 degrees, they curve a tiny bit. It's so weird. That's not what's supposed to happen. I'm trying to get, I'm trying to understand how fonts work in Godot so I can print out the cost on my screen. Every time I set index, I get an instance to the flow field. And I set the survey layer. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the flow layer yet. Set my new index. And then I set the new index survey layer tile. Okay. Say flow layer 2. What does this do? It doesn't contain the key return. It does. And build store layer. Dot build flow layer. What if we get test unit here and then keep setting its index to 140? And then we're drawing. And then we need to actually add the test unit. Or we need to get flow layer to unit. Test unit. Okay. I didn't set this. Hold on. What? Two. This is a location. Wait, why am I multiplying it by 10 then? I need to multiply it by 25. Flow layer dot tiles. But I'm getting a direction. It's still okay. Hold on. Is that the problem? Bro. What? You see how it's curving like slightly? That's not how it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be either directly upwards or sidewards or 45 degrees, nothing in between. I'm gonna delete this. And then probably zoom in. Let's add a camera. Okay. Camera 2D. Move camera. There. F6. Can go a little closer. My cat came in. It's still pointing at 0 though. Like, I think they're all pointing at 0. Index 0. That means when we're getting the neighbor index, the index happens to be 0 all the time. Okay. Let me pull this to the side so I can look at file index. Index to coordinate. There's two possibilities right now. Either index to coordinate doesn't work well and it returns 0. Or we're doing something wrong here and we keep returning 0. But the start location works well, right? Because they start from their own positions. That means the smallest score tile index is the problem. Or the problem is through this. So we set the neighbor indices. How about this? Each time we can print out the smallest score tile index. And then we can run this. Is it all going to be zeros? Yes. Hello? Is this still printing? It's still running. What's going on? Why is it never ending? Crazy. Wait, what? This never comes to an end. There's supposed to be 280 tiles, but there was like 60,000. Print. Tiles.length. What am I doing wrong? What? Print. Tiles.length. What's going on? I think 0. What? Hold on, what? Did I not delete this? Delete this one. F6. It's 280. So why is it spamming like this though? Okay, there's 280 tiles. All right. Oh wait, is it because of this? Yeah, probably. Let's not call it on process. Let's call it here and go back. Click F6, see if it spams again. I don't know, just one, okay. Can take this again, and then we can print the smallest score tile index. Shouldn't print a billion times again. Okay, 280 times. But okay, so this is the problem. It's all zeros. Why is this always returning 0? Small, okay. We assign it through here. We compare the neighbor score. Check if it's smaller than the smallest score. And then neighbor score is score layer.tiles. I set the smallest score tile index here, which is neighbor index. And then neighbor index is 0. Neighbor index smaller than neighbor indices.length. Neighbor indices.length. Okay. Neighbor index. Hold on, that's not the neighbor index though. Oh, wait a second. Neighbor index isn't neighbor index. We need to... We need to do neighbor indices, neighbor index. My naming was bad. I mean, it still doesn't work. But it's this time they're pointing to different tiles. So the first tile points to 1. Second tile points to 0. Okay. Third tile points to 1. Good. Fourth tile points to 2. What? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Does this make sense? I guess it does. If it was pointing to 0, that would be... I think that would be the optimal path. Right? Draw line from 2 tiles. And then I can multiply this one here. Well, let's say it's 0.5. Just to make the line smaller. Okay. I mean, yeah. But now there's a problem with the actual goal. It's not pointing towards the correct goal. But I know the score layer works fine. I know the flow layer works fine. That means this is not being set to goal to test unit. Get flow layer to unit. Now our test unit index is 140. It even starts from 140. If I were to update it, reframe, it still doesn't do the right thing. It was working in the previous example, or in the previous code I had. Like, the actual targeting was working fine. It was just the flow layer that wasn't pointing at the right direction. Upload safely. I don't get it. Always pointing to 0. Okay, to test if the problem is with the unit, I'm instead of passing a goal index here, instead of using the goal index, what if I just put 140? Like that. And then run it again. See if that changes anything. It doesn't change anything. Does it have something to do with the survey layer? They all get sent. They all get set to 1. Let's see what gets printed out. Direction. Yeah, that's not right. Points like 0.7 is not right. 0.71. Is that a position? Am I printing out a position? I'm not. Yeah, I'm printing out a direction. Start dot direction 2. Returns the direction from this vector to 2. Okay. Uh, 140. Okay, I guess I'm gonna try to get uh labels to work so that I can see the scores. How do I add a label node? My node tree. I mean, I just want to be able to debug it here. And instead of drawing a line, I want to draw a string. The problem is I don't know how to get the font. Like export font. Let's do test font. Then we can do test font. Is that it? Is that really it? vector 2 position and start, and then the string. String. Now we need a score layer. How about for now we just add score layer public, and a score layer is yeah, just score layer public, score layer, score layer. There. And then here we can set the score layer to score layer and do this dot score layer, score layer. And then in drawstring, and do flow layer dot, not flow layer. Yeah, flow layer dot score layer dot tiles, and the index, and what is this doing? And then to string. See if this works. I need to go and set let's build it first. Go and set my font. I'm gonna set it to this. Let's hope it works. Oh my god, it's too big. How do we make it smaller? Do I set it here? Drawstring font size. Width. What the heck is the width? -1. Font size 1. See if that helps. It's like not even readable, but okay, I can see the pattern. Look. It looks correct. It looks right in the middle. I just wish. Can I? Let's do this 16. Then start position times 50. So we scale it up, and then we're not going to be able to see it because our camera is tiny. Scale the camera up. Do it like that. F6. Okay. Scale it up more. Or zoom it out more. 6. Even more. F6. That was too much. Okay. 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Yeah, I mean 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It looks correct to me. Though, why is it not symmetric? Is it? It's 14 by 20. 14 by 20. Oh yeah, it's not going to be symmetric because it's what's the word? It's not odd. It's not odd numbered. If it was odd numbered, it would be right in the middle, but now it's not right in the middle because it's an odd number of rows. That's why it's not symmetric. But it's working correct. $11. We should probably also account for diagonals being further. Yeah. Go fix that. Diagonals. Score layer. Here. Index to neighbor indices. How do we check if they're diagonal? Why does this work correctly? Because I'm setting this to where is it? The default value for each score tile is being set to max value. Goal index is 0. Okay, hold on. The current index is 0 plus survey layer. Okay, never mind. It makes sense because it starts from 0. That's why it doesn't. That's why they're not like astronomical numbers, because it starts from 0 and increases from 0 one by one. But we can probably instead of having one big function, can pull this apart and make it get diagonal neighbor indices and get whatever the other one's called. That'd be so much work though. So we have, say, a 3x3. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we're here, let's say if current index hold on, how does it work? Four minus 5, -1. 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay. Current index minus neighbor index absolute equals 1. Or current index minus neighbor index absolute equals dimension x, I believe. 1, 2, 3. So 4 minus 7 would be -3. 4 minus 1 would be 3. Okay, that's how I check for if it's diagonal or not. Put this on the side. Public static will check if index is diagonal to neighbor. To neighbor index. Or you know what? I'll just add it here and then if I need it later, I can turn it into a function. If, okay, hold on. Let's do int diagonal cost equals it's diagonal. If it's not straight, 0 or diagonal. If it is, then 0. And then our check is current index minus neighbor indices, neighbor index? No, it's just neighbor index. Minus neighbor index equals 1, or current index minus neighbor index equals dimensions hello. I don't have the variable here. I'll just copy paste this. Equals dimensions.x. If it is like that, add 0 diagonal cost. If it's not, add 1 plus diagonal cost. Let's see how that changes our survey, our layer. It doesn't change it at all. Oh, we didn't do absolute. Hold on. There we go. Dot absolute. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, it works now. Going diagonal costs more. Keep it like this. Maybe later on we can make it a float instead of an integer. Or we can upscale the integer and make it 1 point, or we can make it 14 so that it actually makes sense, because diagonals are around 1.4 times longer than straight lines. Okay. So score layer is absolutely not the problem. Now let's go back to doing this. See if... Oh, wow. Wait, what is this? Why does it look like this? Am I printing out the locations wrong? Times 50. What? Go back to zooming in with the camera. Zoom in even more. I said poily. I don't even know what collaboration is. What's going on? No, come follow me. This guy sent me a collaboration invite on Twitch. Hello. Hope everyone's having a good day. I'm half to indie. I'm starting to streaming. I'm pretty new. I'm trying to stream every weekday at 1 p.m. I'm making a game in Godot. Right now, I'm just coding like a flow field, a pathfinding algorithm. And the game itself, what I'm thinking of is, let me pull up my stuff. This is my like reference artboard. I'm trying to make an kind of an auto battler, but it's something between Clash Royale, Warcraft Rumble, and TFT, Teamfight Tactics. So I have like right now it's like I'm kind of developing it. I'm kind of designing the game on the way. Nice to meet you too, NDRDG. But yeah, the idea is kind of like a mix of Clash Royale and TFT. It's like Clash Royale where you fight against an opponent and you have to destroy their castle or their tower to win the game. But the difference between this and Clash Royale is it's more focused on the combat between the units. So there's still a tower, but the tower in my game is actually a unit on the playing field which can like move around. And once that unit goes down, you lose. Um, so yeah, in terms of the setting of the theme, I'm thinking something like The Witcher, like Slavic mythology. I have some stuff from like Turkish mythology. I have worms, like dragons and stuff. So that's the theme basically. I have some arts to get inspired from, which looks cool. The art style of this chicken looks very nice. I really like it. But yeah, that's basically the game. Yeah, I've been trying. I was very uh unorganized. I was just like doing stuff and then I realized I need to organize my stuff. Oh, is my Godot gonna crash? I need to organize my stuff, so I started taking notes and stuff. But yeah. Right now I'm trying to fix the problem with my pathfinding algorithm, which let me show you guys. Let me zoom in a little bit. It's like really small. A little more. So this is a flow field pathfinding grid. The lines are supposed to point towards like their closest neighbors. Not the closest neighbor, their neighbors with the smallest cost. The problem is, for some reason, all of my lines are pointing like diagonal like this, and that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm trying to fix that. How it's supposed to look like is, let me uncomment this. Comment that. Let me try this. Nope. Maybe zoom in a little bit. I don't know what's happening. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll fix that later. But yeah, the problem is just everything works correctly until I try to make the lines. And this is my algorithm to make those directions. So a flow field has 3 layers. The first layer is the cost field, then the integration field, then the flow field. Is the stream laggy? Yeah, so like these 2 layers, and how it works is I create a survey layer, or in more generic terms, it's called a cost layer. And then from that cost layer, I create a score layer, which in generic terms is the integration layer. And then from those 2 layers, I create a flow layer. And everything works until, like, everything works in these 2 classes. It stops working when I create a flow layer. So the problem is somewhere here, either here, or the problem is with how I draw the lines. And I don't know which one it is right now. It's probably here, because if I print out my directions, they're like, instead of them being like 0.5 and something, they're 0.7, which is weird. So I'm guessing the problem is with the flow layer here. Yeah, see ya, set pulley. Have a good day. So yeah, I'm just trying to do this. initializing my tiles. I'm getting my score layer. Finding out the score layer works. Okay. So I don't even need to test this anymore. I don't need this part. And I can delete this. I'm thinking, well, during development, like prototyping stage, the first thing I'll do is Windows. But I'm thinking the game would fit more if it was on a mobile device. So I'm thinking Windows, Android, and then iOS. And then after that, I might consider building it for Linux and Mac OS. But that's a big maybe. But my goal is a mobile device, Android or iOS, one of those two. We got the tiles, dimension. We go through each tile. Okay, we go through each tile. We get that tile's neighbors. We find the smallest, the tile with the smallest score. And we convert that into coordinates. Then we find the direction of that. I just don't... Like, I really don't see where the problem is here. Let me go all the way back. And then comment this out. And comment this one. And then instead of doing flow layer.score layer.tiles, let's do flow layer.tiles. So we're going to print out the direction onto the screen. And then we can do start times, let's say 50. Let's zoom out the camera. Do this. Okay, I need to zoom it out a little more. See how this looks. It's hard to read. But I feel like it normalizes it wrong. Why does it get normalized to 0.7? Wouldn't it be 0.5, 0.5? Hold on, what? Let's make this, make the font smaller, zoom in a little bit. Debugging is hard. All right, see you. Have a good day. $205. That's even worse. I can't read anything. Am I supposed to debug it? Like, I can't read it. Let's zoom in. We can just debug a little bit. Or see a little portion of them. All right. -1, -1. Yeah, like this top part is okay. This part is okay. Here. Okay, I guess it makes sense that it's 0.7 actually. Because 0.7 is 0.7. I guess it meets in the middle. If that makes any sense. Let me try Googling vector normalize calc. I want to try something. 3, 2, 1. Let's do 1, 1. Result is 1 over square root of 2. Which is, how do I do this? 2, 1.4. Okay. 1 over 1.4 is 0.7. Okay, so that the numbers are correct then. What's the problem here? Wait, is it correct? Is it all correct and I'm just trying to fix nothing? Zoom in. Do I need to fix anything here? Remove that. It sees the goal as 0, where the goal should be 140. I'm testing for 140, but it's not updating the goal. It's always seeing it as 0, like the top left tile for some reason. Ready? Look, I'm setting the index to 140. I'm getting the flow layer unit to that unit, which is 140. Shouldn't exist. That means this code gets executed. And then in this code, we create a new flow layer from our survey layer. We build a score layer and then we build a flow layer. It all works correct until this. Or sorry, no. How does it work? It works correct. Yeah, it works correct until this. And then this part thinks it's trying to go to 0, 0, 0. Start. This returns a vector2 int. Hold on, do I need to multiply this by, let's multiply this by 100. So that's the starting position. Let's multiply the ending position by 100. And then we can go back here. We can do start. How does this work? Hold on. Draw a line. And do start position times 100. And then let's multiply this by something relatively small. Then we can draw a line. We can zoom out of this. Like that. Try it. Okay. They're all still pointing to 0, 0, 0. Gets passed in. Score layer. Oh, wait a second. The problem? No, that's not the problem. But we don't need this anyways. Let's delete it. I want to print out, every time I access score layer, I want to print out its value. Is it all going to be like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0? It's not. Okay. I feel like something's wrong though. Let me rerun this. Because there's 200, like 2,000 prints. These are the neighbor indices. I don't see any 1-digit ones. That's weird. Score layer tiles neighbor index. That's pretty weird. Thank you for following. Hi, what should I choose? R9 7900X plus 4070 Ti Super and 3 monitors, or R9 7950X plus 4080 Super plus 2 monitors? I have an R9 7900 X3D and a 4070 Ti. Yeah, 4070 Ti and a R9 7900 X3D. It gets like everything done. I can play any game pretty smoothly. And at 175 hertz, by the way. So I think 4070 Ti is it's strong. It's gonna get the job done. R9 7900X, that's a pretty good CPU. It'll also get a lot of your jobs done. production, gaming, anything you throw at it, it's going to be really good. One thing I have about the R9 7900s is they get really hot. They get so hot that I start sweating in my room. When I start playing games, my room gets really hot because my CPU is screaming. They should all be good. The 7900X and 4070 Ti, it's gonna run Blender, Maya, Unreal, everything perfectly. I used to use Unreal a lot, and no hiccups. Like, you don't need to sweat. You can choose either setup, the 7900 or the 7950X. It doesn't matter. At that level, like, it really doesn't matter. They're both gonna run it very well. But about the monitors, like 3 monitors or 2 monitors, I have 2. I have an ultra wide, which is my main screen, and my it's not an ultra wide, but it's a 16:9, but it has a larger screen, so it's easier to look at. So I have 2 screens. It's more than enough for me, but of course one of them is an ultra wide. Yeah. So like right now, I have my OBS open on my ultra wide. I have my browser open, and then in the main screen I have my VS Code open and my streaming stuff. VS Code and Godot and Obsidian. So like this is more than enough for me. I think if you get 2 monitors, you'll be good. If you really need a third one, that's for you to decide. I don't know what you're going to be doing on it. But there hasn't been any times, like I've been streaming. I got the second monitor because I started streaming. Before that I was on a single monitor. But I have never thought that I would need a third monitor. Like, I just don't. 2 monitors is more than enough for me. Yeah, hope I could help. But yeah, if your room is already hot, the R9, if you game or something, if you game for like a couple hours, your room's gonna get really, really hot. It's not even like my GPU, it's my CPU that gets the room hot. It goes up to like 90 degrees, 100 degrees. It's crazy. What time is it? I'm gonna stop streaming in an hour. I'm kind of bored of having to deal with the flow layer. I don't see why it's not working. So I'm gonna switch to my Obsidian and the design phase instead of the coding phase. So what I want to do in the next hour is my browser crashed. I'm using Arc browser. I switched from Chrome to Arc. It was good to begin with, but then it started crashing after some updates. I like the browser, but I wish it wasn't crashing. Here we go. Okay. Now I want to... Let me put this here. Let me swap the positions. Here we go. I want to create a setting, a story for the game. I wrote down some questions that I would ask. But first of all, I need to... Well, I came up with an idea, so I'm going to note it down here. The setting is let's say a fantasy world where humans coexist with monsters and magical, let's say, and magic. Monsters and magic. I want there to be some kind of political I want the politics to be like to be all ruined and there's going to be war, and that's why you're going to be fighting. You're going to be like conquering or something. A fantasy world where humans coexist with monsters and magic. The world, or let's say the nations, are divided and war is imminent. Is that a word? Imminent is about to occur. War is impending. And war is imminent. A fantasy world where humans coexist with monsters and magic. The nations are divided and war is imminent. Let's say people. Or whatever. The nations are divided. I mean, nations are going to be divided anyways, but yeah. War is imminent. I think that's enough for a setting. I'd say yeah. Like we've seen like the setting is nothing new. Right? So in my inspiration, The Witcher has war, Mountain Blade war, Game of Thrones war, For Honor war. Like it's nothing new, so I would say it's easy to imagine. So yes. Can you tell an interesting story in that setting? The answer is yes. So I'm typing yes. It can be interesting, but can it be unique? Because Witcher, Game of Thrones, probably countless other stuff that I should research later. But it's absolutely nothing new. There's been countless stories told that were set in some kind of war. So it's a good setting to tell an interesting story, but the story may not be unique. Is the setting reactive? Absolutely yes. A war setting, I think, would be very reactive to like the player's actions and stuff. Because if you go and fight a battle, that place is going to change. It's going to become yours. It's going to become, the resources are going to become scarce. I can count a lot of stuff that's going to change with war because it's such a destructive thing. It's easy to make things change. Can you come up with interesting quests in your world? Probably. I don't know. With my game, I don't think the question is even relevant. Probably. Yes. Setting's evocative. What's going to happen? Who's going to win the war? Who's going to die? How many people are going to die? How is the terrain going to be affected? How are the animals, the people are going to be affected? How's the economy going to be affected? Lots of questions. I would say yes. And the story. So the idea I had in my head is the name of the game is Conjurance, or that's like the project code name, at least. And the idea is you are going around in order to conquer like a kingdom or something, you go around and you go into skirmishes or battles. And instead of like marching your entire army, you send out this one guy that's called a sentinel. You send out him, and he marches forward, and he can spawn or he can conjure units around him. And that's basically a mechanic that lets you put down units onto the battlefield. And that's basically the idea of the mechanic that I want to implement the story into. So there's going to be magic involved in the story. I want it to be something like The Witcher's, what are they called? The Wild Hunt. So they're basically invading, but they're invading via portals, right? So they like open up portals, they make their army go through the portal, and they start like invading. And then they also, their magic isn't very powerful enough, so they're hunting this person with powerful magic so that they can bring their army through the portals. So they have enough power, enough magic to bring their entire army through the portal. I'm thinking atmosphere-wise, something like that. But of course I want it to be unique, so I'm not just going to steal from Witcher. So story could be, I'm thinking, I want so we're not in defense, we're attacking. Or actually, we're not exactly attacking. We're neither attacking or defending, or we're doing both. We're attacking and we're defending, because when you start a game, you can either win or lose, and that means if you lose, that means you lose territory. If you win, that means you win territory. So I'm guessing the setting. Let's expand on the setting a little more. A fantasy world where humans coexist with monsters and magic. The nations are divided and war is imminent. You are, let's say, the leader. You are the leader of a nation within this world. Or let's make it less focused on you and more focused on the setting. Leaders of this world. Cling to their power. Cling. Grasp. Embrace. Anyway, leaders of this world cling to their power. Hold on. Leaders of this world push others to fight and die. Leaders of this world, in an effort to hold their power, leaders of this world, in an effort to hold their power, push their people to fight and die. Story. You are a leader. You're not a leader though. You're like a general. You're like an army person. I don't know what they're called in medieval time. Can't even read that. Leadership. Commander. I think a commander is good. You are a commander. You are a commander to a nation. And you are tasked to conquer and expand land. You're a commander to a nation, and you're tasked with you are given the responsibility to hold, to protect territory and expand it. So that's good enough. That's like later on in the story. Let's give it some base. In this world, magic is used to fight wars. To fight wars by conjuring entire armies. In this world, magic is used to fight wars by conjuring entire armies. Sentinels. Sentinels are people Sentinels are army units capable of conjuring, capable of conjuring. Leaders of this world send their sentinels leaders of this world send their sentinels to fight, sentinels to conjure their armies in the battlefield and win wars. You are a commander to a nation, and you are given the responsibility to protect territory and expand it. You are the leading commander to a nation, and you are responsible of protecting territory and expanding it. You command your sentinels. Say you strategize. You strategize when and where to fight, and command your sentinels fight, command your sentinel carry your banner and conquer. There. So when I was first thinking about this idea, I was thinking about like the player fantasy. I like the idea of Mountain Blade. The idea is you're like a commander, you create your own nation, and then you go around like sieging castles and conquering and like fighting and stuff. And you're building your own army, you're building your own city. I like the idea. I feel like the execution is very poor in Mountain Blade. The mechanics feel stiff, combat is awkward. I don't know, I feel like it could have been done a lot better. I really like the idea. And I thought it'd be nice to, I'm just a solo developer. I can't even compete with these guys. It's like what they've done, it's so much above my league because I'm a solo developer. But I can still take their core game idea and their fantasy, and I can try to make it make that fantasy come alive through a different kind of gameplay, a different genre of game. So I think what sells this game is the fantasy of building your own army, commanding it, conquering, and then rising to power from nothing. Though this part really doesn't resonate with what I just wrote, because you're like a leading commander of a nation in this world, and you're already pretty powerful. But let's remove it for now, I guess. Something the player wants to actually do. Fantasy of building your own army, commanding and conquering it. Is your story interesting? The story is understandable. People have seen this setting before. The story and the world has a twist. Battles aren't fought between people, or battles aren't fought in the traditional way, but rather in a way by using magic. So I guess that would be interesting. It's interesting to me. But yeah. See. Let's go over it again. Fantasy world where humans coexist with monsters and magic. The nations are divided. Nations are divided and war is imminent. Nations are divided. Let's say not imminent, like it's at the doorstep, but rather it's always happening. Nations are divided and war is constant. Leaders of this world, in an effort to hold their power, leaders of this world, in an effort, maybe not hold their power, maybe in an effort to grow their power, and not push their people. Leaders of this world, in an effort to grow their power, start never ending. Fantasy world where humans coexist with monsters and magic. Nations are divided and war is constant. Leaders of this world, in an effort to grow their power, are in a never-ending war against each other. And I feel like I did it, like wrote the same thing a second time. Sorry, I got a cat picture. I think it's a good like 2-line setting. Story. In this world, Magic is used to fight wars by conjuring entire armies. Let's change that up a little bit. In this world, wars are fought by conjuring entire army using magic. Sentinels are army units capable of conjuring. Leaders of this world send their sentinels. Leaders of this world send their sentinels to conjure their armies in the battlefields. Conjure armies in battlefields. You are the leading commander to a nation, and you are responsible of protecting territory and expanding it. You strategize when and where to fight, and command your sentinels to carry your banner and conquer. Right. I think that's a good. I don't know. I still need some like feedback from people, some critical feedback. To me, this is like very interesting. Like I said, I like the idea. I like the theme of having like commanding your own army, doing the strategy and the tactics. So for me, the fantasy is already there. But I would love to have somebody else look at this and give me some kind of feedback. But I think that's going to be it for today. Sending my Discord link. I'm most active on Discord. So if you want to watch me again, you can find me on Discord. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube. But if you want to talk to me, if you want to follow my stuff more closely, definitely join the Discord. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, said Poily. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but thank you, said, for rating and bringing people over to my stream. I'm trying to stream every weekday at 1 p.m. So the people who brought in, to everyone who chatted, thank you. Hope you guys have a great day, and see you guys tomorrow.